Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Beat the Banks, our weekly podcast on self custody and everything related to that. I'm your host, Chris, the DeFi Professor. Just want to say thank you. Opened up the arena. It's been a minute. The arena on Avalanche, arena.social. Check them out if you're looking for, obviously, social media, social fi, perps. They got everything there. Shout out to Jason and the team over at the arena as well. I want to shout out Colin. Thank you very much. You tipped me for our TVL show on Wednesday. Really appreciate that. That actually goes a long way. And really humbled by that. Thank you so much. And anybody else wants to tip, feel free to do so. So this is our weekly podcast specifically about concepts about getting into digital assets, anything with self-custody, being your own bank. Mainly because banks are out here to take your money and give you very little in return, right? So we'll talk about a couple of things related to that today. One thing I did want to talk about specifically is a lot of the FUD that I'm seeing on my timeline. So we'll start with that. And that is going to come to this specific tweet. The energy that I'm seeing for people just dunking on Trezor, dunking on self-custody. Where was this energy when Cold Card happened? Granted, there was, but man, people are like engagement farming the hell out of this Trezor event. They're like, oh, this means that self-custody is dead. No, it's not dead. All right. So, update to this is that there are additional people outside of the 11,742 that have had their PII exposed. And what we mean by PII is personal identifiable information. This is something that can happen when you sign up for a product. And granted, how this happened was not at Trezor itself, but from a third-party logistics company that they partner with that had a breach. This is something we talked about. We've talked about this multiple times, right? I mentioned, especially once Mythos class, LLMs and AI models came out, which is like 2 months ago and newer. April was terrible, right? That was 4 months ago now, which is crazy to think about. So in the last 4 months, we've seen an uptick across multiple industries of companies getting hacked. Now, DeFi itself and full of smart contracts, limited numbers. It's getting harder and harder to attack smart contracts, which is great, right? Because it's a self-healing type of thing. But what we're looking at is other industries getting hit by this. We saw this with, is it Novo Nordisk? Yeah, Novo Nordisk got hit. We talked about it on this show because they had like some of the most critical assets tied down with like a Novo 123 password or something terrible, right? Terrible operational security. We saw Instructure, the parent company of Canvas, the open source learning platform, tied to multiple institutions across the world. They had to pay Shiny Hunters, I think is who it was. I think it was the multi-million-dollar bounty to protect what was going on there. We're going to continue to see these things. Pardon me. And a lot of this comes downstream from third-party logistics. Now, Trezor does have a strict 90-day data storage policy, meaning they're going to flush anything within the last 90 days. Now, clearly that is not completely true if their fulfillment partners also, follow the same policy. Maybe not all of them do that, but clearly somebody found a way in to get some information. So you're going to see an increase in phishing attempts. And what that means is someone's going to contact you by email, by text, even by snail mail, because they have shipping addresses. and send you something saying your funds are at risk, blah blah blah. Go here to fix things. Uh, that is something that could possibly happen. I would definitely say that you should do your homework and respond to the things that you think are truly legitimate. In most cases, most of these are not. Um, in my opinion, this is no different than what happened at Coinbase, AT&T, multiple other data breaches. Now, what you didn't get here is anything like personally identifiable information like uh, credit card numbers, social security numbers, things that would be dire if that were to get out. But this does open up, and I talked about this on our last community call just earlier today. This opens you up to what's called the $5 wrench attack. Now, you may have heard that, and due to inflation, it's probably called a $20 wrench attack at this point. For those who don't understand what that means that someone can just come up to you if you happen to carry any of your information on your person, like if I know people who carry their hardware wallets with them everywhere, with a belt of some type, they can attack you with a $5 wrench physically, and then force you to give up information that you don't want. It's a real thing. I'll be honest, it's a reason why I don't travel to certain parts of the world for crypto conferences. Because, frankly, if people know that you own a device like this, they're going to assume that you have crypto or digital assets or other types of synthetic digital assets that have money. That's not always going to be the case, right? A lot of people are just here because they're trying to see if this could be a valid way to get better risk-adjusted return, or they watch our content and want to be their own bank and want to self-custody their digital assets. Part of what I've talked about previously was to disassociate yourself from wearing products that could show that you actually have something. So like for people like, I went to Denver and I 2 years ago, I was in Denver and I saw a gentleman wearing a CryptoPunks hoodie. His CryptoPunks hoodie. Very, very bold move, right? Because if people actually see that and what I meant by his CryptoPunk, his actual CryptoPunk was on the back and the front or something like that. But if people know that you have a high value NFT, you have to be careful. You have to be careful. I mean, people have obviously been attacked. In some cases, some people have been killed, specifically for their involvement in this space. You just have to be careful. So just make sure that you disassociate yourself, and obviously, non-financial advice. You do you, but just be careful. The information that's been exposed here is no different than if you go to sign up for a credit card, if you sign up for a sweepstakes. Like if you go to a conference or you go to the sale for spas and hot tubs and they're giving away a Cybertruck. People sign up for that stuff all the time. Half the time it goes, if you ever go see them, they're in actual clear bags or clear boxes. You can just go and people just go and take pictures. People leave bills in their cars. You ever see that? I see it all the time. And just like you see people and they just have their mail just sitting there in the front seat. Or they have something sitting on the floorboard or something. You can just go by and take a picture of that. Guys, stuff like that is leaked all the time. I can tell you I worked for a data broker for quite some time. They have everything. Your voting records are being sold whenever you open a checking account, a utility, change of address. That's all sold. Did you guys know that? There's also firms who work on the Web3 side that also help to try and merge some of the Web3 address data that's publicly out there with some of these things. Believe me, guys. You guys are definitely being marketed as products with your PII. So it's a lot of FUD, right? And we're getting some people that that are really just trying to poo-poo the self-custody movement. And granted, some of these people have a lot of money, right? They're like, why would I ever trust money to a self-custody wallet when I can just go buy a Bitcoin ETF, or I could just go put it in a bank? Okay, go do that. Do what works for you, man. I want to self-custody my assets because I understand how a lot of this is being done, and I'm not getting any return for that. Sure, I have money in the bank. Who doesn't? I buy T-bills, things like that, you know? I have a dividend portfolio I've been trying to build. You should be diversifying your portfolio anyway. I mean, if your only investment in this space is, you are quote unquote tits long into crypto, that's not the best way to go about it. You need to have a diversified portfolio because of counterparty risk if something happens, right? There are people who are only in oil, only in gold. Well, if something happens and the value of that stuff all goes down, and that was your entire investment, you now have very little left, right? So, a lot of people are FUDing, and what FUD means, it's an acronym, FUD. It stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Makes for some great press, right? Makes for some great moments where people are going to go and panic sell, or all kinds of things. Does it really accomplish anything in the long run? No, of course not. Self-custody is not going anywhere. In fact, on my community call, I talked about paper wallets and BIP39 calculators. Happy to put that up here right now. So in the event that you want to create your own seed phrase, which you can, go check out Ian Coleman, BIP39. This is a website where you can go and generate a seed phrase. A mnemonic code is what it's called. What's interesting about that, I want to say I've talked about this on this. I mean, we've been doing this show for damn near 6 years now. Well, 5 years, really. There's 10 languages that you can put into a seed phrase. Did you know that? There's 10 languages. It's unfortunate that you can't mix them. I mean, it's not that it's unfortunate. I wish you could, but then not all of us have Hangul or, kanji or Chinese characters, whether it's you're speaking Mandarin or the other version of Chinese. But there's 10 languages. I would love to meet someone who actually has a seed phrase in Japanese or Mandarin. That'd be kind of interesting to see what that looks like. Now, BIP39 just means there's a dictionary, and most of the cryptography, I believe, is in the last word of what you get. So if you get a fifth, I mean, I would generate a 24 word, honestly. And then you have a seed phrase that's never been, that hopefully has never been, it should check, I believe. And you even have things like derivation paths that you can work into, which is out of the scope of this. But the great part about this is that you can actually download this offline and create your own seed phrase. And that's probably the biggest part of what I wanted to talk about today, is that people are talking about rolling dice and all this stuff. Yeah, if you want to do that, you can. You don't have to. But you can create your own seed phrase. Now, from a paper wallet standpoint, you can create what's called a watch-only wallet once you write it down, and you because ultimately what you're doing is you're creating a seed phrase that multiple addresses, sets of addresses, can be created with. One seed phrase can power thousands of different wallet addresses across multiple different ecosystems. There's just software that takes care of that for you with the seed phrase that you have. Now, if you just want to create a watch-only wallet, there's resources out there for you, with your quote-unquote paper wallet. One thing that I need to stress on this is that, and shout out to NO for this post, for example. Guys, if you guys don't realize this, and maybe there are some of you that don't realize this, your funds are not on the device. Okay? There is nothing stored on these devices at all, other than the seed phrase and maybe some custom token stuff here and there. They're not stored on the device. When people are like, oh, that thing's made out of plastic, it's cheap as shit. So what? The whole point is the idea of making an approval process where you send funds from one address to another. All of this is in front of it to prevent it from happening. Okay? Which is something that you can absolutely do. Someone putting an iPhone or a MacBook at the top, which fine, if you want to do that, you can. But then you still actually have to fund the wallet and send the stuff there. All of the stuff just lives, all of your funds just live as ones and zeros on the blockchain, everybody. They're not in the device. So remember that. What I would probably recommend is once you create your hardware, your seed phrase, you can then take, I don't know, if you have an existing Trezor or a Ledger, whatever wallet you have, Tangem, Arcturus, Keystone, whatever you have. Reset it. Again, if this is what you want to do with it. Reset it, recover, and then use that phrase. The reason why I recommend that route, which is obviously not ideal in some cases, or what people may not want, but the quote-unquote minimum you can do there. And the reason why is because once you put that seed phrase in, you can then have the hardware do it. What I did want to also recommend is to do all of this without internet access, because you can create this. If you have a Trezor or whatever, they have firmware you download directly from the manufacturer that you can do and create all of this in what's called a quote-unquote air gap situation. So as long as you're not connected to the internet doing all this, you're fine. And then you can create multiple addresses, and then all you have to do is fund them from whatever sources. And that's basically the long and the short of it. Now, the idea that this is what we call a single signature wallet, a single sig wallet. People are talking about multi-sig wallets. That's fine. What this means is if you use something like, I think he recommends, or she recommends multi-sig here on Solana. There are multiple wallets that can plug into that. Safe has one as well. There are multiple other wallets that are out there that have a multi-sig function. Basically what that means is you will have multiple signatures on every single transaction, meaning 3 signatures have to. So let's say that you do, I would recommend at least I would recommend a 3-person, right? So the most common 2 of 3, right? So at that point, any 2 of the signers have to sign on every single transaction. So keep that in mind. What this also means is you're going to get 3 separate seed phrases, and you have to maintain them, the privacy and all of that there. So you can certainly set it up so you're the only person and 2 of the 3, or all 3, and you just always make sure that you keep that in check. It's a lot of work, honestly. Are most people going to do this? No. Let's be very honest. The everyday person that you meet on the side of the road, or you meet while you're out walking and about, they're not going to do that to protect their funds. They'll just I'll just go to the bank. And that's fine. That's what they want to do. But if you're a self-custody person, you want to be in complete control of your funds, yeah, of course multi-sig will be better than a single sig. But if you're looking for single sig, going with the calculator and then recovering it into a device after you factory reset, probably a more palatable way to do it. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. Do your own research. Do what works for you. But be very sensible about what's going on. But there is a lot of FUD on the timeline, a lot of engagement farming specifically over this announcement. I mean, they're not leaking anything outside of just that part with the $5 wrench attack, which is what a lot of people are really worried about. Frankly, if you live in the United States and you go to vote, and I've always lived in a state where you have to have ID, there are literally 3 or 4 people there at the precinct where you go to vote that have these what are called voter rules, right? They're just literally stacks of paper, and they just thumb through to find who you are, check to make sure with your ID that's who you are. And on that piece of paper, not only does it have your name and your address and I believe your phone number, it also has your party affiliation. So frankly, it's just there. People can come in with guns, and I'm not going to say they're going to kill anybody, but they can just go and take that information if they really wanted today. But regardless, our information is sold all the time. I know this because I've worked for a data broker that specializes specifically in that, and they sell it to everybody. Google, all the search engine providers buy this stuff. The information's out there, guys. So none of this should be shocking to anybody. Obviously, stay safe. That's all you can really do while you're out there. Anyway, I just wanted to address that because the amount of people who are now dunking on self-custody, who are supposed to be champions of this space, is kind of crazy. And seeing stuff like that, I'm just like, hey, I thought you were on our side. Clearly they're on their own side, which frankly in self-custody that makes sense because you can do whatever it takes to keep your money safe. And I get it. Hopefully everyone's had a good week. One thing I did want to say, and shout out to our friends at EtherFi. They had a big announcement yesterday. And we've talked about crypto neobanks and crypto cards, right? EtherFi being one of them. They have updated their offering to provide multiple things. The biggest one, which I don't quite see here, and maybe it's here on the app. Well, it is. And we were looking through this on our community call, but there is now $500,000 in insurance-backed account balance protection. This is notable. Why? Aave is giving up to $1 million. They're doing $500,000 insurance-backed. Same thing with Aave. I believe it's also insurance-backed. But it's at least at the minimum double what the FDIC does, right? The FDIC is $250,000 per account. So there's some really wonderful things, and shout out to the team at EtherFi. You get 3% cash back on any of your spend, 5% back on any travel. I mean, they have a variety of different things that are here that come with each level. But what you also get by having an EtherFi account is access to markets where you can actually create collateral and borrow on that collateral. You can trade stocks, going back here to the announcement. You can do tokenized stocks and metals trading through the market optimization that they have here through the partnership, I believe, with X Stocks and across protocol specifically. They also have partnerships with Paxos, Rain Cards, and Stablecoin, which is from Bridge, which is Stripe. So they have multiple new on-ramps and off-ramps. You have payment methods through Cash App, through Apple Pay, Lemon Pay, and others. So you're not beholden to paying with this, or just like certainly only certain ways to on-ramp and off-ramp. There are a lot of younger people who use Cash App and potentially Lemon Pay. I can't say I've heard of them. But it's all a very finely well-oiled machine now at EtherFi, after they made the pivot from being a liquid staking hub with Eigenlayer, almost 18 months ago now, to pivoting to being a next generation neobank. So there's a lot of really interesting things that they've now created as a one-stop shop to really get you to use this, especially if you're a crypto or DeFi native and you like to travel and do things. There's a lot of stuff here that's really great with traveling that you can do. Is it everything you can do? No. But let me look at the cards. And again, here's the other stuff that you can earn on just by automating your rewards, right? This RWAs thing is interesting. You can also have, it looks like it's tokenized gold. So with the $500,000 and account balance protection, that's pretty massive. Now I'm not saying all this obviously to shill. It's just that if you're looking for options, they're starting to mature pretty darn quickly. Neobank is something that is being talked about quite a bit. And one thing that there's also Neobanks, which is decentralized neobanks that are also on the horizon. So we'll see exactly how this all plays out. Are banks sweating at this? They should be. This is the one thing that that especially smaller banks, this is the stuff that they're worried about. And now that they have $500,000 in account balance protection, that is now going to make them sweat even more. Now, clarity isn't passed. Not sure if it's going to, if I'm being honest. CFTC and SEC are still moving forward with Project Crypto regardless. So there might be some big names and institutions that won't come down here. That's fine. We don't want DeFi to become what the banks feel their DeFi should be. It should be decentralized finance and finance for everybody. But if you're self-custodying and you're looking for a spot to put some money into, to hold some of that while you're also so your money works for you while you're doing self-custody, you can put some of it here in Ether.fi. Shout out to them, by the way. Great stuff. Another project, probably Symphony, right? They did a very interesting pivot recently from perps and AI to frequent flyer stuff, right? They're trying to fill a gap that's there. Same thing with Ether.fi. That's why they flipped over. So there are things you can do that are on chain, that are building, that have funding, that are moving along, and something to consider for what you're doing with regards to what's out there. All right, I wanted to pull up one other thing. Let me find that specific tweet. Actually, I'll probably go into... what should we go into? Oh, I thought I saved that. Give me 1 second, guys. Thanks again for being here today. Hopefully you found some value so far in staying safe and just making sure that I don't want to necessarily go to the Zora post, but I could. Yeah, we're going to have to go to the Zora post because I can't seem to find exactly where that is. Now, I keep hearing that Zora is coming back. Whether or not that actually happens, I'm not sure. But let's check this out. Just kind of revisiting, right? And this is, again, 10 ways to stay safe in 2026. Let's open the image in a new tab so we can zoom in a bit. And I put this out earlier in the year, like I think January or February. Couple things that are corrections. This needs to be EAL 5 plus, not EAP, EAL 5 plus. So, cold storage first, self-custody, right? Obviously, with everything that's happened recently, this has put a lot of people into doubt. You should still. One thing I have to say about what happened here, yes, it sucks. It doesn't affect the actual product. The actual product is fine. Trezor makes a great cold storage wallet. They have true RNG, I think 3 different types, specifically in the Safe 7. Does that necessarily mean that it's the one you should get? Honestly, it's fine if you want to do that. In fact, let's go check out their Safe 7 here. It's $249 if you want to get it. They do have some other ones. The 3, the 5, and the 7. The 7, if you want quantum ready, is probably the one you're going to want to get. It is open source. Their stuff is open source. It's more than the AL5 Plus. Now I think it's the AL6. And again, people keep talking about this part. Guys, you can recover any seed phrase into any wallet. By the way, if you had a ledger and you had a 12 or 24 word seed phrase, you're like, oh, what can I do? You can take that seed phrase and put into a Trezor. You can put into a MetaMask wallet if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. Again, these are all meant to provide ways to muck up that approval process, so someone just can't say send this. There has to be steps into the approval to send that call, to provide the authentication. And that's what all of this in here before that approval goes out is all about. Any way that we can provide multiple factors to prevent that from continuing is definitely what you want, right? So they have 3 different true RNGs. It's okay, so it's 6 plus secure element. And they have quantum ready architecture. This is the one that most people are looking at. Now, Freedom Factory, which we've talked about as well, also has this, but they're not shipping until it's essentially a crowd-funded thing, right? They're not shipping until later this year. This is their PQ1. Again, it's for reserving, and it'll be available later on this year. So yeah, is it possible that it doesn't ship? Yeah, actually, because they're just reserving things right now. It's not out yet. Whereas you can buy a 7 today, and at least have that peace of mind, right? Again, I'm not shilling for Trezor. They've never paid me. This is again looking at what's out there and what's available. If you want to future-proof it to a degree, Safe 7 is probably the best thing you can buy right now. Nothing against Ledger, but they have nothing that can say that they're ready for quantum, which is something that's going to be big, right? We'll see exactly how Q-Day plays out. Are you going to get brand new Bitcoin that gets issued to you, or whatever asset, ETH? At some point, you're going to have something that's a new representation of that money that's quantum resistant and quantum safe. So there's that. All right, so Ledger for farms, meaning if you're going to be using a hardware wallet with the second factor, like whether with an NFC chip or whatever, Yubico and hardware keys don't necessarily work yet with web wallets or soft wallets. Maybe someday they will. We'll see. They work specifically at the CX level. You can use a hardware wallet like on Coinbase and Kraken. But on DeFi protocols, that's not quite the case just yet. I'm hoping that becomes something that's a normal thing. Unfortunately, the only wallet that works across multiple ecosystems, meaning Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, everything that's out there, Near, Algorand, is Ledger. Trezor it only works on EVM anyway. For DeFi based things, and that's kind of the way that it is until they have support for Solana tokens. but Solana wallets like Phantom, Solflare, Backpack don't have support for Ledger. I mean, they don't have support for anything but Ledger. So until that changes across multiple ecosystems, pardon me, allergies. Until that changes, if you're in DeFi, it's gonna have to be a Ledger. If you're gonna do mobile DeFi, which a lot of people seemingly like to do for whatever reason, because the most secure wallet you have on you is the one that you're using. It's in your hands, right? Whether you're on the laptop, the desktop. We've never been big fans of doing DeFi on mobile, just because more attack vectors. You can easily lose your phone, things like that, right? $5 wrench attack. Yeah, if you're out in public and they can take your phone and run away with it, that's not good. So we prefer laptop, desktop first. Now, in a pinch, if you need access to your stuff because something happened and you're not at home, that's one thing, right? But make sure you have all of the stuffs turned on: VPN, biometrics, all the privacy stuff available. No public Wi-Fi, obviously. If you don't have a password manager, use a password manager. Best ones to use out there: 1Password, Bitwarden. Both Google and Apple have homegrown apps now. Those are all available. But if you're multiple platform like I am, I use 1Password. It's a service I feel is worth paying for. Never use LastPass again. Simple as that. Email isolation. Have a different email for multiple different sites. If you use a password manager, that makes life easier because you have no idea what your passwords are. You just have the one password. You have to remember which is your master. Low profile in public. Avoid wearing crypto gear. Don't advertise any type of potential wealth that you have for the purpose of the $5 wrench attack. And that can happen to anyone, honestly. There are a lot of ways that people advertise their wealth. They drive a nice car. They wear nice watches. They wear nice shoes, clothes. They keep up a certain type of appearance. They live in specific areas so that you know that they have a lot of money. That doesn't change this at all, right? You just got to stay safe and be aware. Always be aware. And of course, the one time I forget to put on Facebook and stuff that we're live, it doesn't matter. And I'm looking at the wrong browser. The one thing that I tell people when I meet them, like in new communities and stuff, is that you got to have a routine. You got to have a system. The easiest way to make money in this space is to not lose money. Right? So have an established routine. One thing that I told our community this week was to reevaluate your positions. One thing that's that's happened a lot, at least in the last 2 weeks, is multiple projects are shutting down. So if you happen to have older positions that you don't pay attention to, make sure you check all your positions. Your position may be in a state where you just have to salvage. Obviously not financial advice. Do what you need to do. Have a routine. Making sure you have a routine means that you will not, hopefully, make many mistakes. That until we are in a world where agents are the true user experience that take care of all this for you, we got to do it by ourselves. So make sure that you have a routine, establishing, looking at any positions, any trades, any collectibles you may hold. Security needs a routine. There's a lot of things that you have that you should have a regular routine. Regularly revoke your approvals, stuff like that. Make sure all of your Make sure all of your hardware is good. Make sure that your passwords are secure. If you need to rotate wallets, because, why keep a wallet longer than 12 months these days? Browser profiles. That's huge. I get targeted pretty regularly. People want to know more about my content. People want to be on the podcast. People want me to be on their podcast. People work with projects that want to work with me. I get targeted pretty often by bad actors. Shout out to, SEAL 911 and Taylor Monahan. I think I'm still on the pin post. But regardless, there's a lot of bad actors that have planted the seeds for years, and they're just now starting to come around. So use separate browsers, profiles for investing. Use separate browsers, period. So don't use the same browser for investing that you do for paying your bills, watching Netflix, whatever you're doing. Keep them all separate, because that helps you out in the case where you may get infiltrated, infected, click on a bad link, and it affects everything else around you. You definitely don't want to be in that situation. So be very careful. Don't click on sponsored links. Why? Because sponsored links, if you go to Google and you see the sponsored links, those are paid for, guys. And does Google care what's on that content? Most times, no. Yeah, they'll vet things every now and then, but it could take them a while. I mean, we've seen how in the Apple App Store, there's a fake Ledger app for more than almost a year. This one will save you too. Make sure you have your auto lock enabled. That way, if you come into a bad situation, they can't check to see if you have any open wallets. Just turned on, I would say, for me personally, 10 minutes is probably reasonable, I think, for most people. Just means that after 10 minutes, you just have to re-engage and re-authenticate, which, frankly, if you're being security conscious, is something you want to do anyway. I know people who have, in Brave, they have every transaction monitored. So they're actually watching what happens whenever something happens. And I think that's like, wow, that's... But you're going to learn a little bit more about telemetry when that happens. Like when you click a link, what's everything that happens? We have people in our community who literally do that. They turn that on so that they have to approve every single call that gets called. And definitely always send an email, a small test first. Lined up with the bonus tip of don't trust to verify, which you can hopefully see back here. It's on my wall. The other one you can't see on that wall, it says always send a test transaction. I've seen people YOLO $1 million to the wrong address on a CEX bridge. And if you guys didn't know, CEXs don't care if you do that. You can try and talk to support if it's not an AI support. KuCoin was famous for back in the day. People doing this all the time, charging $100 to help you. Sometimes they could, sometimes they couldn't. Pardon me. I know people who said they wanted to send a specific... I know people wanted to pay for a service with a specific asset. And they sent it to a USDC address, which is a no-no. You just can't do that. You would think the system would know this at this point. I mean, to a degree it does, right? They're just not going to return it if it's not the right. Maybe that's the thing that needs to change. That there needs to be smart contracts that can recognize only specific types of assets, which can be counterintuitive in some ways, but could be a long step in consumer protection. I mean, I've seen people unstake an LP by trying to swap the token and not sure why their $3,400 LP is now gone. And for most people, that I'm not going to go into that because there's the dynamics about it. That's not how you unstake an LP. You actually have to go to the smart contract, call the operation, and get your liquidity back. Not take the LP token, which is a receipt token you get showing proof of ownership of that LP, and then swapping it within the wallet to something else. That's just not how it works. And ugh. That's why we're early, right? Address poisoning is a thing. There's a couple of wallets. I think Ambire is one of them. Shout out to Ambire and the team there. I do need to get into. We're working together to do a demo or two, and I might make some content for them. We'll see. Address poisoning is a huge thing right now. So obviously, sending a test transaction, making sure you got every piece of the address correct, is big. Don't be in a rush. Avoid FOMO, fear of missing out, right? As long as you follow these 10, you should stay pretty safe in 2026 and beyond. Now, this is the year of integration, right? We're seeing all of the big institutions make their way down here into DeFi. And to be very clear what DeFi is the subsection of this world that involves blockchain ecosystems. It's not miners or, it's not these Ponzi schemes where you try and be one of the first 100 to get in, and every time you get into something, you get money back. That's not DeFi. That's degen crap, guys. Rings, nodes, all that stuff. When I mean nodes, I mean the old strong nodes and stuff like that, where you're literally just hoping that more nodes come into the network to pay back more rewards, right? Because it's all about you bought a node, how long before you get your ROI? That's not DeFi to me. DeFi to me involves smart contract. I mean, it technically is, but when people think that's all that DeFi is, they're overlooking the real application of DeFi, which are like concentrated liquidity vaults, perps, even prediction markets, just any type of liquidity play that gives you real risk-adjusted return. Not hoping on things like that, and your referral code was really the true unlock of how you make money quickly. Just make sure I'm not missing anything else. But yeah, being your own bank is going to be an interesting time moving forward. But the basics of it, with self-custody and being able to control where your money goes, is the true leading thing, right? I love the fact that EtherFi has multiple off-ramps now, because having one through a CEX kind of sucks in a lot of ways. With that said, and I don't have my wallet here, I just had a conversation with somebody about this the other night. I love the fact that if I just need to spend some money, I can send money back to my Coinbase account and just use my Coinbase Visa debit card, which is accepted at millions of places worldwide with no issues. Now, one thing to note. Some of these cards are not always accepted because they're treated as top-up cards. And there are people who don't, there are services that don't recognize those for whatever reason. Just keep that in mind when you're looking at some of this type of stuff. But there are some decent credit cards that are out there that pay you back, right? Because even on stuff like this, Jupiter has a credit card. There's a couple other credit cards that are out there. You can make Coinbase has a credit card, of course. Gemini, and you can earn it back in whatever asset you choose. EtherFi has a couple different ones you can do, but yeah, there's some interesting plays out there. So if there's a specific asset, especially so if we get into a world where tokenized assets are a thing, that's where this model changes a bit, right? Because if I'm like farming, let's say I'm just supplying and earning back on my profits, but I'm getting paid out in, let's say, Apple tokenized stock, SpaceX tokenized stock, MicroStrategy's tokenized stock. If everything goes through is going to go through, you'll be able to actually in kind redeem those for actual shares, which is pretty amazing. And shout out to whoever just liked the stream. Greatly appreciate you. I think that's probably going to be the biggest unlock, right? Once everything that can be tokenized is true and actually in-kind redeemed, that means so this is not just a US thing, guys. This means anyone in the world can do this because DeFi is not owned by any one country. And that's the biggest unlock of all. That's why there are so many people from other nations who are in DeFi, because they see the true value of anti-fragile, censorship-resistant coins, specifically stable coins. In my opinion, stable coins will always be the killer app of crypto. Or digital assets. I don't really call it crypto anymore because, frankly, there's only a handful of coins that actually fit that what crypto is supposed to be, which is proof of work consensus, right? And so that's Bitcoin and a couple others. Everything else is proof of stake. To me, that's not really crypto anymore, which is fine. Doesn't have to be. ETH is great. ETH will be the infrastructure of the new financial frontier. Ask Swift. Swift has 11,500 member banks about to go live with access to blockchains in the next 30 days, I think. They're about ready. I'm just checking to see because I had something from them recently. It must have been on a different account, but they're getting ready. And the real reason why this is important is because they're on a mission to make international transactions instant. So, and there are tens of thousands of banks that are a part of SWIFT. This is to people who are in the system, this is a huge unlock for them because the T+1, T+2 timeframes and funds being available 24/7, 365 become a reality, and it's being settled on the Ethereum blockchain, which is amazing, right? So for people who still think that crypto isn't real, guys, you're looking at the wrong crypto. That maybe that was the mask that you were going after all along, the gambling type, whereas the true financial system of DeFi, decentralized finance, is really what's going to power the world moving forward. It's what I'm the most passionate about, because how could you not be fascinated with something that's a true financial subsystem that even now institutions are using across the world, that was built without spending one penny of taxpayer dollars from any country? And frankly, that's the reason why they're most scared of it, because nobody owns DeFi. No country owns DeFi, which is why you're seeing countries have their own blockchains, their own version of it. You can be out here on the true frontier, where you are your own bank, you're your own sovereign entity, controlling your assets and your money. For some people, that's a big responsibility, and I get that. And that's fine. Banking is never going to die, guys. Never. because it's the flow of goods and services through currency. Banks as we know it today most likely will, because all of them are clinging on to really old legacy bullshit. And things like the Clarity Act scare them, because guess what? Swift's already here, guys. It's all going to happen whether you believe in it or not. This is your chance to get literate, to get educated, and to be safe and secure in the new frontier that's coming. That's something you want to do? Keep following my content. That's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you got some value out of it today. Please like, share, comment, anything that you have some feedback on. Happy to take that. And improve the show. Greatly appreciate you. Again, my name is Chris. I'm the DeFi professor. And I'll show myself for a minute. If you work for a company that needs someone who is a subject matter expert in this space to help translate, be a translator for this new language that all of these groups are speaking, feel free to reach out. I'm available for that type of work, always. Because my goal with all of my content and everything I do is to make DeFi accessible and awareness to the public to be the highest priority. Because people are just going to sit here and eat what they read about crypto and all of this all day long. But the truth is actually already out here, because blockchains are immutable thanks to smart contracts. It's transparent thanks to smart contracts, and there are private blockchains, private smart contracts, but they have niche uses. But overall, this is technology that's accessible to everyone. And we should work together to make sure everybody knows about this, because this is your money. You want banks to keep profiting off of you for the rest of your life? Go ahead. Not me. If I know I can custody my own funds and be in a situation where the banks don't make 6% and I do, that's the option I'm taking. Here's to the new frontier, guys. Have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. Don't get wrench attacked, please. And don't give up on self-custody, because it is the future. 07. Keep beating those banks.